If you've seen it 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, it keeps going, it keeps happening. That is about you. Remember that the cycles that we see occur again and again and again and again. They're never about anybody else. They're about us. And thankfully, once we recognize difficult or unwanted behavior, difficult or unwanted people in our relationships, when something comes up, it is to help us work through something that we have inside of us. Once you work through it, it tends to stop coming up. If we do not work through it, however, if we do things like if we have a problem with a boyfriend or girlfriend and we just break up with them and go find the next boyfriend or girlfriend before working through whatever issue it was that they brought up in us, it tends to be that the next boyfriend or girlfriend will have the exact same thing. You know what I mean? Wait a minute, you don't have a job either? Are you kidding? You had one when I met you? Oh, come on. Or at work, we quit. We quit. Goodbye, everybody. Good luck. You'll need it. And then we leave. We go get our dream job, and then out of the blue, we're like, wait a minute. This is what happened at my last job. God, is every place the same? No, you're the same. We haven't worked through the issue yet that was brought up clear as a bell in front of us so that we could work through it. So when you see behavior, if it's for the first time, get it out of the way. If it's the second time, it's knocking on your door. And if you're asking yourself, what should I do? I'm not sure what to do. I've never dealt with this before. Here is exactly what you do, exactly what you say. You don't need to worry about finding the words, or finding the steps, so to speak. I talk about how communicating and dancing is a lot alike, because when I don't know what the steps are, I tend to avoid the dance floor, and I'm very uncomfortable, and I don't do it. That's what we do with communication too. When we are not really confident that we know what the steps are, the words, we tend to avoid difficult talks. Don't do that. Here are the words. No more excuses. For everyone, no matter what level you're on, when you see something happening that we all have agreed, or you would know anyway, that's not acceptable. Remember, if you remain silent, you are complicit. And for many people who have been through difficult situations where, they feel as though their rights are getting trampled on, they're harassed, they're bullied, they're, discriminated against. The people doing the bullying or harassing or discriminating, we remember them. We remember more the people who stood there and watched it and did nothing. Because if you've ever had that experience where somebody, disses you or, calls you out, some manager or supervisor treats you like garbage in front of other people, and you thought they were your friends. And, something is said to you and you're like, ugh. And then you look at your friends and coworkers sit there. Some people will look away, lower their eyes or whatever. And some people just look at you like, and we'll look back at them and be like, he too, Brute, he too. You know what I mean? We're like, you? Really? Really? Nobody has, nobody has my back. Okay. Alrighty then. And we learn a lesson, but we tend to learn the wrong lesson. The lesson really is, most people don't have the words or the courage to speak up. They don't know how to do it. Don't be in that category. They are complicit. If you see something going on, some people were telling me, for example, that they were concerned because some of the young women should be learning communication skills to stand up for themselves, because they'll see things happen or be said about women, and they wish that the women would say things, and stand up for themselves. And I'm like, oh, I can understand where you're coming from, but that is not the woman's responsibility. That is everybody's responsibility. You know what I mean? If I'm sitting there and I see somebody being discriminated against, for whatever reason, if you see something, remember, if you don't really have the words, you have your body. You know what I mean? You can always stand up and leave, and that sends a clear message. If you're in some situation and you don't think that people are communicating in a way that reflects you, because when you're with people and they communicate, they're reflecting you. If you think, no, I don't want to be associated with that, you can always stand up and leave. So remember that. What can you do if you're in a situation and you see somebody say something or do something and you think, those values don't reflect me, but I can't find the words? You can stand up and you can leave. And in doing so, imagine if, people that when they started engaging in their difficult behavior, if they were left alone every time that they did that, you think they'd keep it up? They'd learn. People need to sometimes learn. That is not accepted. They don't know that. I'm assuming that if people, who do these outrageous things, if they could get all of their needs and wants met and, show and receive great love at the same time and communicate in a way that honors everybody around them, they would do that. I'm sure they would. But they don't know what that's like, And when you don't know what that's like, you don't know, well, there's no other option. I mean, that's just the way it is. So forgive them, but don't encourage it. Don't condone that behavior by staying there. Stand up and walk out. Now, if you have the wherewithal, the presence of mind to actually use your words too, always speak up. When you do speak up, here are the words. Remember that the verbal pattern is you want to address the behavior first before anything else. Meaning, if you want to say, I am offended by that behavior, what you really want to say is, that behavior is offensive to me. Because what's first in the sentence is the most important thing. That's where all the power lives in a sentence, the beginning, the subject. Choose your subject wisely. So if I'm going to, as I get up and leave, if I'm going to say, I'm leaving because of that behavior, or I don't want to be associated with this, so I'm out of here. If that's what I'm kind of thinking, remember, use your words. That behavior is unacceptable, and I'm leaving. That behavior is behavior that I will not be associated with, and I'm leaving. Once you've done that, once you've, the first sentence, put the right subject first, then you can say things such as, I find that behavior, or I take this type of behavior very seriously. Or this organization takes that type of thing very seriously. Or, do you understand how serious what you just said is? Or, I am offended by that. And then you just leave. So I'd like you to repeat this after me. Say this out loud, whether you're by yourself or with somebody, all right? Say this. That type of behavior is not welcome here. Say this. That type of behavior is not welcome here. We should all be aware now. All of us know what is and is not welcome. And all of us make mistakes and have days where, I'm getting a little bit too loosey-goosey and forgetting that I'm an adult and I'm not with my family during the holidays. And I can't say those types of things in public. Sometimes I guess my jokes just aren't appreciated. That type of joke is not appreciated here. That type of joke is not welcome here. When somebody says that, we've all heard people say that. And when they do it, their credibility, their level of professionalism, the respect we have for them skyrockets because we think, oh, thank goodness somebody said something. Oh gosh, I want to hang around them, start to watch what they do and be like them when I grow up. You can be like them tomorrow. Say this out loud. That type of behavior is not welcome here. Say this out loud. I take that type of behavior very seriously. Now say this. This organization takes that type of talk very seriously. Now say this. Do you understand how serious what you just said is? Say that. Do you understand how serious what you just said is? Now say this. I am offended by that. Say that. I am offended by that. All right. Now those lines are very simple. When was the last time you said them? If you do not say things, it's awkward when you say them for the first time. Get used to saying those things. Practice them. Remember, see it, hear it, speak it, write it. While you're with your friends at work, if somebody says something that's, not offensive, but different, practice saying to your friends at work, that type of talk is not accepted or is not welcome here. We take that type of thing very seriously around here. I am offended by that. Do you understand how serious what you just said is? Practice saying those things so when you need them, they flow out. Now, managers and supervisors, this is different. You have authority. Use it. Sometimes people can't even find the words. But managers, you have to find your authority. And when you have agreed on what the consequences are, which has to be done, those consequences should be dealt publicly and swiftly and with transparency. So if, for example, I'm a manager and I'm in a group of people and some issue comes up, somebody says something, we've already talked about this, I must address that immediately. If for some reason I make a mistake and I do not, I want to do it as swiftly as possible and publicly. And, some managers have said to me things like, well, I'd rather address these things in private. Yeah, well, I'd rather these things happen in private, but they don't. And I am, for example, forced to witness this. Now that I have, as an innocent bystander, become witness to this type of behavior. And some of the words, that people will say at work, Because we just, we make mistakes. Sometimes we'll mistakenly use words of death at work. Words of death are words that have been associated with killings of people. People have died with those words being said to them. They have no place in our modern workplace where now we have, information at our disposal that helps us not be, cannibals. And if I am witnessing some of, if I'm a new employee, it is my expectation that I will be kept safe here. That is part of the deal. That in a developed country, as an employee, my employer makes sure I am safe during the day. That is an assault if I have to hear something and be witness to that. That's in public. So yes, as a witness to the crime, I want to see the consequence myself. If not, just as we see happening in the world, if you don't see any consequence, you think, well, wait a minute. Why is this happening behind closed doors? What's the deal? What is going on here? You know what I mean? I saw the crime publicly. Why am I not seeing the consequence publicly? Swift, public, transparent consequences, no matter who it is. The first time you do not do that, that will be the last time people will place their trust in you. You will no longer have authority or be able to administer authority in any way. Because once we show people I'm not taking care of you and will not do what I'm here to do, how we do anything is how we do everything. So don't make that mistake. Now, nobody has an excuse. The next time one of these issues comes up, you have the words. That type of behavior is taken very seriously here, and I'm offended by that. Are you aware of how serious what you just said is? Things like that, and then you get up and walk away? Woo! Imagine if one person does that, and then the people who, were kind of looking away before as the victim was being victimized. Now they're looking at the perpetrator because the victim told them off and left the room. They're looking at the perpetrator going, well, look at that. Things tend to change very quickly when people are given the tools. So use them. What do I say? Then come to training.com.